Stacy Lynn Harp is coaching with heart. Thank you for listening to this audio presentation. To learn more about Stacy and her coaching services, visit stacylharp.com. That's STACYL harp.com.
Welcome to this edition of Coaching with Heart. Today what we're going to do is we're going to look at friendships. We're continuing our little series here in friendship. And today what we're going to do is we're going to look at what positive friends do. And I know that I could really easily begin with the negative stuff, but for the sake of this, I really wanted to plant the seeds of positivity first. Because, most of us have had some experience with negative friends, and so I thought what I would do is begin with the positive and look at some characteristics of positive relationships. So the last couple of days, we've been looking at the 3 different types of friends, and hopefully, as you've had an opportunity to go back through those shows and read the email, you have been able to identify those people in your life. And so what I want you to do now is I want you to consider the friends in your life that you have that are positive. And I have to tell you a quote from Dale Carnegie. You might remember Dale Carnegie. He was a pretty popular guy. Carnegie Hall is named after him. He said this, listen to this. He said, "You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you." You know what? This seems like duh, But you know what? In our world of social media and disconnect with families going through divorces, people moving constantly, friendships are fractured and they're broken. And, people often get discouraged and they're like, you know what? I have no clue. And so what Dale Carnegie says here is absolutely right. And, we saw that with Jesus. Jesus was the one who initiated the relationships with the disciples when he said to them, "Follow me." He wanted to get to know the guys, right? And he nurtured those relationships. So there are a couple of scriptures I want to throw out to you, just to give you a couple of the do's. And I have a whole list here that I can give you, but for sake of brevity, I'm going to not give you all of them. I'm only going to give you a couple of them. But the first one is from Proverbs chapter 13, verse 20, which says, "He who walks with the wise grows wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm." So the first thing you want to do is you want to recognize that you need wise friendships. You need people who are full of wisdom. And I know younger people generally don't get that point. And I know for me personally, never got it. Now, today, many years later, some of the wisest people I know are in their 80s. And I sit back and I listen to these men and women, and I learn from them because they've been around. They've been around the block. And there is wisdom in age, but not always. I should say that too. If they're a godly person, they've been walking with the Lord for any length of time, there's going to be some wisdom. But not always. I've met some pretty unwise old people too. But so one thing you need wise friends. You don't need just a friend who is, going to be there and play poker with you. What you need somebody who has some wisdom, who can tell you some things. Okay, so that's Proverbs 13, verse 20. And then Philippians chapter 2, verse 4 says, "Each of you should look not only to your own interests, but also to the interests of others." And we know that this is in a chapter where we're learning about who Jesus is and what he did for us and how he's our model. And what's interesting is that your positive friends will do that. They will look out for your interest as well as their own. I have friends, and it's been very interesting since I moved to Tennessee to see how the friendships have developed, because I've met some friends here who are totally interested in nothing but promoting themselves and selling me their services, whereas I've had other friends who have been interested in serving me and trying to meet my need And I've met other people who are more interested in developing a relationship that goes both ways. And it's interesting. It's been very interesting for me to watch it as it's been developed. So look for the interests of other friends, of your friends. So that's a positive thing that you can do in your friendships. And I would encourage you to go back and read all of Philippians chapter 2. Be approachable. I know that probably sounds like common sense, but you'd be surprised how many people are not approachable and who don't smile. So be approachable by smiling at other people, looking at them in the eye. Proverbs chapter 15, verse 13 says, "A happy heart makes the face cheerful, but heartache crushes the spirit." So if you're happy, show it. Smile. It makes them wonder. No, it's true. I remember years ago, this impacted me so much. I remember years ago when I was in, I think it was junior high or high school. It was a long time ago. I had somebody come up to me in the hall, and they looked at me and they said, "Why are you always smiling at me?" And I'm like, because I just want to say hi and just let you know that I like you. And they're like, "Oh, okay. You know what? That really made my day." And I'm like, "Okay." But they were like all suspicious. They're like, "Why are you smiling?" Because I'm genuinely happy. That's why I'm smiling. So let your joy show to other people. A happy heart makes the face cheerful, but heartache crushes the spirit. Okay, here's another thing. And I know this might surprise you, but if in positive relationships, use that person's name. Use that person's name. If you know their name, use it. Or if you're like me, give them a nickname that's preferably flattering. You don't want to say, "Hey, you," and give them a bad nickname, but give them a nickname that's endearing and use their name. And I remember I never understood the power of this until many years ago when I was in therapy. I went and I saw this male therapist for a while, and his name was Richard, and Richard was an older man, very fatherly to me, and I went to see him because I needed some help with father issues. And he used my name. Oh my gosh, he must have used my name a million times. Well, probably not a million, but close to a million times in the time that I saw him. And finally, I asked him, I said, I told him actually, I said, "Why are you using my name so much? Because it's really annoying me. I feel bothered by this. Stop using my name already." Stacy this and blah, blah, blah. Stacy and blah, blah, Stacy. And kind of like when you talk to your dog, all they hear is their name, Grover, blah, 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 Grover, blah, blah, blah. Now, seriously though, use a person's name. And you know what Richard told me was, he said, "You know what? When you use somebody's name, what you're doing is you're telling them that you see them, that you're really focused on who they are, that you are aware of who they are." And on another note, I had another therapist who actually used the wrong name with me in therapy. And I remember I got so mad. I was like, "I cannot believe that you have my name right there on the chart. And you called me the wrong name." That was way back in the days when I was a little bit more in your face with stuff, and I didn't really know how to communicate in a nice way like I do now. I know it's hard to believe, isn't it? But even that therapist, so funny that I think about it now, is that therapist realized that she had made a big error, and she wrote me a note, and she apologized to me for not using my name and using somebody else's name. So, in all seriousness, use the person's name. Say that person's name. John chapter 10, verse 3 says, "The watchman opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name, and he leads them out." So Jesus knows his sheep's name. And, the whole idea of names in the Bible is a very interesting thing. So use a person's name. So those are a couple of do's for building your friendship. Now let me give you a couple more practical characteristics for positive friendships. And let me just read some of these so you can see if you are this type of person. Okay? They commit to quality time with you. We talked about this yesterday. They repeatedly Compliment your strengths, because that's very important, that they're not focusing on your negative stuff, but they compliment what your strengths are. They point that out. Something that we should all know, and this should be like, duh. When I say this, you'll go, yeah, right, But a positive friend will keep your confidence. They will keep your secrets. They will not gossip about you. And I guarantee you that if you listen to what people say, you will find out if you can trust that person or not. If all they do is tell you, stories about other people, then that's somebody you don't want to be sharing stuff with. And unfortunately, there are certain professions that kind of feed that type of personality. And I'm not going to say what they are, but I think if you think about it, you'll know what those type of professions are. So positive friends keep secrets. They keep confidences. You know what? One thing I appreciate about my husband, and it kind of, is that he's a man. You tell him something, he'll never tell anybody else. He'll go to the grave. So that's very key. Another positive quality of a friendship is that the person will promote your freedom without being all possessive. And believe me, oh my gosh, there are friends who are totally possessive. And TV shows are made of stuff like this. It's where, you know what, well, so-and-so went to that and they didn't bring me, and well, you like that person better than me, blah, blah, blah. And then there's all this problems. It's like, no, you know what, that person is going to say, hey, go for it. Go hang out with those people. I don't care. I am not your property. So positive friends will not be possessive of you. They're not going to be jealous of you, and they're not going to try to control you. Okay? So if you have friends who are trying to control you, then you know that that's not a positive thing. A positive friend is somebody who's willing to listen to your feedback and give you constructive criticism without condemning you. And you're able to say, you know what, you're probably right. Thanks for pointing that out. And they're doing it because they love you, not because they are somebody who hates you. Another thing positive friends do is they forgive you when you ask. And they really mean it. They're not somebody who's going to be in an argument with you in another day and go, oh, well, you know what you did yesterday, you did that, and blah, blah, blah. And then you go, wait, just a second, mister, I thought you forgave me. No, I was just kidding. I really didn't forgive you. No, positive friends will forgive you for that. They'll give you energy. They'll be fun to be around. They won't drain you of your energy. There are those people that you can be in their presence for 5 minutes and you can tell instantly if they're going to drain you. I had a phone call a couple of weeks ago with a woman who wanted to know stuff about what we do, and literally within 15 minutes being on the phone with this person, I felt zapped of complete energy because I could tell that she was so needy. And it was, by the time I got off that phone call, it was like, oh my gosh. It felt like doing 5 therapy sessions back to back. It was really, really draining. So your friends, when you're around them, you're going to feel energy. It's going to be positive, and you're going to want to spend lots of time with them. You're going to feel like you can spend hours with them without any problem. And it's going to be hard to say goodbye. But at the same time, you're going to have good boundaries with that person. You're going to say, you know what, I've already spent, 5 hours with you today. I think I'm going to leave now. Or in my case, you have a more limited time. So that's there are a couple of other people. And you know what? They, as a believer, as a follower of Christ, obviously, these positive friends are going to encourage you in your walk with the Lord. And they're going to be able to lift you up spiritually, and they're going to be able to pray for you seriously. They're not just going to be saying I'm going to pray for you. They will pray for you, and they'll look out for your best interests. And they might even bless you in some tangible way with a note of encouragement or something like that. So the short thing here, what positive friends do is basically they build you up. They build you up. And so if you are in relationships where you're not being built up, or challenged in a loving way, then you might want to consider seeing what the Lord would do with you as a result of that relationship. I have so much more I want to talk about in regards to positive friendships. So we're going to talk about more tomorrow on the show because I don't want this to go too long. And as always, thanks for your comments, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you for listening to this audio presentation. To discover more resources from Stacy Lynn Harp, clinically trained marriage and family therapist and biblical coach, visit stacyl.harp.com. That's STACYL harp.com. Coaching with Heart.